My name is Katlego. I'm about to give you a testimony about my life, something that is very dear to me, and for me to be able to give other people's testimonies, most importantly, I feel like it's important that I share parts of my journey. I grew up in a village called Ramogodi. It's in Garangua, north of Pretoria. And yeah, I grew up in a family of a mom and a dad, and most importantly, a loving family. I grew up a very happy child. And if I must add, you know what they say about middle children. So I am a middle child. I have an older brother and a younger brother. Unfortunately, my mother's late. I'm only left with men in my life, which is my father, my brothers, my husband, my 3 sons. So you see, I'm surrounded by men. So I think that should say something to you as a viewer about the kind of person that I am. Being raised around male people, even in the years that I was born. I was born in 1988. I grew up in Ramogodi, the dusty street of Ramogodi. And if anybody knows Garangua, Ramogodi is like your Bundus. When you're in Garangua, Ramogodi is the Bundus. So a very rural area. And well, I had a happy childhood. And you know how when you're a child, or when I believe every child is born with a purpose, and with what my purpose would turn out to be, I met a tragedy. When I was 3 years old, something happened to me which would bring out so many questions in my life, but not until recently. So when I was 3, well, let me put it this way. In my family, in the family that I was brought up, my mom and dad were employed. They used to go to the factories to go and work, and my mother's little sister was then taken from Mafikeng and brought this site in Garangua to come and take care of us. She came, took care of us, and when I turned 3 years, one morning, she and my mom decided that because my dad was working night shift, they decided that they should go. There's a place next to the bridge where it used to be a shopping complex back in the day, where you would find your butcheries, your grocery stores and whatnot. They decided to go there as women to go and do shopping. And I was left at home. In fact, I didn't put this up. Maybe let me put it this way. Where I grew up, it's my father's grandparents' house. I grew up in my father's grandparents' house, which is not ideally my home, but my father's mother's home. So my father was brought up by grandparents because his mother passed on when he was very young. So he was brought up by his grandmother. He grew up, he got married, he met this woman from Mafikeng, got married, had children with her, of which I'm one of those children, middle child, born in 88, and was given my grandmother's name, English name. And yeah, I grew up as a happy child, a very clever girl among boys. My brother, my father has a brother, or rather had a brother because he's late now, and he had kids. And then in my age group, I was the only girl. So I grew up with boys. I played like a boy. And yeah, when I was 3, on that fateful day, my mom went with my aunt and left us at home. It was me and the two boys, which is my brother and my cousin brother. And my father was sleeping because he had to go for night shift. And on that fateful day, nothing out of the ordinary would happen, but on that fateful day, something tragic happened to me, which was in my father's grandparents' house. There was my father's cousin from somewhere, but he came to stay there because he needed a place to stay. So this man would be one of those people that we were very close to, right? So he said he would call us, send us to the shops and whatnot. On that fateful day, he called me. He said to me, "Come," but he chased away the boys. I didn't understand why he was doing that, but what happened is that he sexually abused me. And I have to point out that I didn't know this. I found out this last year, the year 2023, after I gave birth to my third child. It was brought to me in a vision, and yeah, the Lord showed it to me, the graphics and everything. So, which is something that I believe maybe it was locked away in my subconscious mind. I don't know, but I couldn't recall the events until God showed them to me. So, fast forward, on that day, how it was shown to me in my vision was like this. My mom and dad came knocking on the door, which was locked. And they found me in a pool of blood, and she was the one that challenged that man, and that man was just he didn't know what to say, or he didn't know what to do. You know how you've done something and you just don't have an explanation why you did it. My dad challenged him, but because when something like this tragic happens to your daughter, it's like your whole power, or your whole power, let me just say power, it's extracted from you. You just become powerless. So I just saw two people who were just powerless. Even my mom was even had even a little bit of strength to even ask questions, but my dad was just powerless. He just stood there. And my mom grabbed me, left everything, only to find out that when we got home, there was a basin where my father was washing his upper body. So my mom just dropped me into that basin and washed me. She was crying her eyes out. And as a child, I didn't understand what was going on. I was crying, but I didn't understand what was going on. So she put me in the bathtub, washed me, took the clothes, wrapped them, and in the vision, I saw him take that dress, and she went and threw it where we used to throw our bin. So they would gather all the used things from the house and then burn them maybe late. So she threw that dress there, and did I tell you that my mom looked devastated in the vision?
This is an incident that was revealed to you that it took place when you were 3 years.
Yes.
Do you have any recollection of this incident in the physical as a 3-year-old?
No, none whatsoever. The only thing that I can trace back to that incident what I grew up being told.
Okay, what was being told?
My mother's little sister liked, and I must emphasize that it looked like she enjoyed telling me that. She liked telling me that you were almost raped. It's because just lastig. So in English it says you are naughty. So she kept reminding me on separate occasions, and many times as I was growing as a little girl, she liked telling me that I was almost raped. But because as a child, you don't know what rape is.
Okay.
Do you understand? So, me finding out at a later stage what rape meant, but what spoke to me was that it didn't happen. It almost. So, up until the day, I would put it this way: the day I died on a hospital bed, that day, I would say I died twice, but God revived me. And I will say to you this: I'm jumping all of the events specifically to this event because I want to get it out of the way, because I know it affects me emotionally. I want to talk about this part so that I get it over and done with. But this is a memorable moment with me and the Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay.
My grandmother, my father's mother, died giving birth to her third child. I'm talking about the lady that I'm named after. She died giving birth to her third child. And I was giving birth to my third child. And I died.
It is brought back to your memory, even though you were a child, by the Spirit of God,
Yes.
while you were delivering your third child. Can you say this incident as a child has had a negative impact throughout your life up to that point when it was revealed to you?
So much so.
And then what is that negative impact?
Well, the Demfuking, as painful as this sounds, I grew up around me, right? And I could never understand why was it that men looked at me in a certain way, in a way that as a child it will make your skin crawl. They looked at me like how a man would look at a grown woman that he's lusting after. So, the only thing that could make me feel like that was okay was the fact that I grew up. It bothered me, but not that much because I grew up around a lot of men. So I would say that it is one of those things that you just brush aside pretend that it's not happening. And this thing affected me in such a way that because I grew up with boys, ne? I believe it impacted on the kind of person I would turn out to be, because I somehow became a tomboy. I was a girl that played with boys. So a lot of my mannerism would be that of a boy child. Like the roughness of a boy, the way we played, you know. And somehow it made me feel good that I looked like a boy, I played like a boy, because it somehow was a defense mechanism in terms of when another man from outside the family would come. When they look at me, they will think that I'm a boy. And for me, I loved it when they saw a boy, because as a girl now, if the minute they corrected them, they say, no, this is not a boy, it's a girl. Like, it's like the demeanor changed. It's like there was a spirit, some sort of spirit that I carried. The minute somebody is made aware that I'm a girl, now they change. So each time when somebody addressed me as a boy, I made sure that I moved from wherever we were. If we were sitting watching TV, I would move so that person shouldn't get a chance, or I shouldn't get a chance where I will catch him looking at me in that way. So
this is a very valid point that I believe a lot of rape victims suffer from, especially as kids, not knowing why it happened to them and trying to run away as far as they can. So whether you were not aware as a little girl that something like that has happened to you, it haunted you one way or the other. I remember this was revealed to you long after 3 years when you gave birth to your third child. Here's another dimension that I want us to explore about this incident. Many women who are raped or such attempts are made in their lives, especially as girls, is some form of initiation into the gods of their families and the like. Would you say there were such forces that were there before you came along as a child, that you know your family or your forefather or your forebears were engaged in?
I believe such practices were there, even though I wouldn't know their origin. And as far as I can think, it was treated as something acceptable. I believe that in my family, or in most black families, not my family specifically, there's this thing of saying that ngwana malome nyale, kgomo di boelesa again.
Yes.
So I don't know if as black people we understand the spiritual implication of that, because to me it's called incest. So irregardless of that was practiced, if that was practiced consciously or unconsciously, like even I would say this, even the rape, how it happened, I believe that the Holy Spirit wanted to point out to me specifically the face of that person, to show that this person ideally is not guilty. He was inhabited by something. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
You are making sense.
Because in my vision, there was this point where everything got zoomed in, like, and one of the things that I saw being zoomed in was the face of that man. He looked confused.
Okay.
You know how when you finish doing something, if you are guilty, you are even going to try and defend yourself. No, it's not what you think. Like, he was even surprised, looking at himself, like, and looking at me, and
as though he did it under control of a certain spirit. He only comes to himself after he has done the act.
yes. So going back to your question, I believe in my forefathers' families or whatever, they practiced incest. I believe that there were people that were kind of they had sexual engagements, but even though they were related, yeah, I think there were some sort of sexual engagement, and that was a breeding ground for the spirit of incest.
It's good that you can identify that there are these things that used to happen in your family now that you are grown up. Normally, after this encounter with this person who seemed to be possessed by some spirit, if it is something spiritual that they transferred or initiated you into, it has quite a negative impact throughout your life after it has happened. You shared with us that you became a tomboy who would want to hide your girl identity, and you played rough, having a nice place to hide until someone says she's a girl. Besides these things, do you have any other negativity that you can say it was associated by the spirits that supposedly you were involved in or initiated to?
I would say all my life for as long as I can remember as a child and into up until my adult, like up until currently. I've never been really received well by people. I struggled in making friends at school. I remember in crèche, I had this friend. I don't know if it's okay if I mention her name, even though I don't mention her surname. I had a friend by the name of Katlego. Katlego, mother was a teacher in the crèche, in the early learning center where I was. And she was my only friend. And you know, when you are a child, children are free-spirited. They can just meet another child, they play. To me, it was a very difficult thing. I couldn't relate to anybody apart from her. Like, it was like, I'm her shadow now. Wherever she goes, I'm there. So, we graduated, these graduations from crèche to school. So, we went to grade 1. When I got to grade 1, now we're meeting different other children and everything. Katlego now finds other friends. And it was a difficult thing for me. And even this, I had, like, my mind had blanked out this part of my primary schooling. But through this encounter, it made me go back and search. So it was difficult for me to relate to any other kid apart from this one. So she became my friend from grade 1 until grade 6. And I mentioned that I was a very bright child in school. I was one of those learners that got 50 out of 15 tests and everything. And I was also good in Afrikaans, which I don't know why, but yeah. So sometimes my teachers will allow me to teach other kids Afrikaans in class and everything. But here's the strange thing. Every other girl child, apart from this one, hated me with passion. Let me put it this way. Every other female, apart from this child, like, despised me. You know, you can tell when somebody doesn't like you, whether you're a child or you're an old person. Like, they had this... Let me, if I can't put it in words, I'll just give you a picture. You know how when you're approaching a group of girls as a girl, and they are standing in a circle, they'll open up a circle for you. But with me, they would just give me their back and close so that I shouldn't come in. And then I would walk away, go sit somewhere alone. So I guess that was me closing that void by studying hard, making sure that I'm the best at everything that I did, because now there was this
wall that has been created.
Yeah, that people
How did this survival tactic of doing things for people in order to be accepted make you feel, now that you are aware that this is what used to happen? Would you feel like you have been accepted, or was there part of your mind that would tell you, don't ever take these ones seriously because they love you for this?
Well, unfortunately, I got a rude awakening that most of the relationships, most of the friendships
Mm.
I had in my life, I was just being used for what I could do for people. And I was willingly doing that so that they accept me. So the minute I finished doing what they needed me for,
Mm-hmm.
they would now push me aside.
Mm.
But because when you want something so bad,
Badly.
you tend to
Mm.
pretend that whatever that you're seeing is not true.
That attitude that you just mentioned can also be looked at from the viewpoint of love relations. What kind of love relationships did you have with this kind of rejection from childhood up to maybe adolescent? What kind of boys would come for you? What kind of boys would you fall for?
Okay, I'm thinking. My first relationship as a as a as a like I would say that I was a late bloomer
Okay.
because even I didn't trust that I could be loved.
Mm.
So the only love that I could see that it was genuine was the one that was from my father, because I know my father loves me.
Mm.
That one I'm sure.
Mm.
That man showed me love from the if I can remember from that incident. I sometimes well of recent thought that maybe the love he was showing me, he was trying to make up for what happened that day. But I came to understand that I'm the only girl child. So you know how you'll be daddy's girl. So I didn't trust anyone except my father. So when I was approached by guys, it would be, I would say, hard for me to even believe that something will come out of this. But I was approached mostly by people that, well, didn't match who I am.
Okay.
First and foremost. It would be people that that would say when they got to know me, they would call me weird.
Okay.
And some were even, sorry to say this, but yeah, some were even, I don't know if ashamed is the right word to use. They didn't want to be seen in public with me. So it will always be those kind of relationships whereby you're a hidden girlfriend.
Okay.
Yeah? And because I'm this person that is, I'm bubbly, I'm friendly with everyone, people would think that we are friends and they would never be corrected. Oh no, this is my girlfriend. No, it would be like, oh, your friend, that one, and they would be like, okay. So I would always be this person that looked like it was never good enough in the relationships that I would be in. Forever hidden, forever taken like a friend, casually so, and not really taken serious. So yeah.
What you are telling me is that even in relationships, the kind of rejection you've had was still following you.
It was.
And now in personal matters where people say they love you, but you don't see that in their actions. They would rather be seen with you where you are alone, not in public. How did that make you feel now that you are grown up?
In fact, I would say this incident somewhat made me, well, I would then, after this revelation, I would then understand why I was somewhat shy. So my shyness made up for whatever that they did to me. It was like I was because Lina, I don't want people to know, you know. So me being shy would be the hiding, the nice hideaway of
Or
saying,
cover.
or a cover up, is a cover up of saying that this person really doesn't, this person doesn't want to be seen with me. Then I would make, like I would cover up that we say, I'm shy, I don't want people to see me walking around with boys and whatnot.
So in a sense, it also served you in that you were a withdrawn person who would not be, who would not want to be seen with others, and the fact that they are shy to be seen with you in public also served you.
It did.
Okay, no, it's well understood. I learned to know you as a very gifted person, and in my opinion, some of the challenges that you had from when you were a child up to maybe at that time were meant to fight your spiritual gift.
Okay.
Normally, the tragedies that befall us in this world as God's creatures and gifted people, those strategies, these are meant to counter our giftedness or turn it into the devil's instrument. When did you first realize that you were spiritually gifted, and what gave you that idea?
Well, I would say that I've always known. Why would I say that? It's because I've always been a dreamer. Everything, even when bad things were about to happen, I would dream about it. I would be forewarned. Even with finding out that people were using me, I would see them in my dreams.
Okay.
Maybe talking exactly how they feel about me. So, because of, as a child or as a person who's still growing, you think that it's just a dream. And you want to defend this person so bad that you disregard the dream. But most of the dreams that I would have, there would be warnings, there would be revelations of some sort. And some didn't even come as dreams. I would be sitting and I would see something, and when I talk about it, maybe to my mother, it would be like you have started, right? And just brush it away. But with my dad, he would be attentive, and as soon as that something happens, he would be like, and need I point out, I was a very lucky child. Very lucky. You know how when you are, everywhere we go, maybe we would go to the complex, and there would be, in that, during those times, there was this scratch cards that you used to buy in this small, you know, I remember there was my father's aunt who liked taking me to the shops because she knows that she's gonna come back with a lot of money because of winning from those scratch cards. And it would be the ones that I picked out. So she, on the down low, hated me, but pretended to love me because she knew something that maybe I was not aware of. Yeah. So I was a very lucky child. I would, maybe we'd go somewhere, I would receive things from people, like out of the contract, they would just, I don't know what to give this child, and they would just give me, a stranger giving me something. So I attributed that to being lucky, but never forgetting that I was rejected.
Most of these dreams and what you regard as thoughts during the day, if you are not asleep, would be things that finally happen, which is the reason why your mother would say you have started. Okay, for me that's a clear sign of a gifted person. Now here you are growing old, you know you have this gift and you are a lucky person. were there times when it would be like something happens to you because you happen to be this dreamer, this seer, this lucky person? Would there be such things, and what would they be?
I would say that somewhat my visions, my dreams brought me so much unfortunate incidences because I ended up being hated. People start having this negative connotation or negative way of reacting to me because some whom at a later stage would find out they were witches. They were afraid that I was able to see what they were doing. So it brought me unfortunate incidences which I took as a child as innocent. But when it was later in the years revealed to me that even with that happening, I was used without my knowledge, if I should put it that way. There were relatives that would have me that I would visit as a child, and I was always treated badly among the rest of the bunch, like. But because it's something that I grew up with, it wouldn't offend me as such. I would anticipate it, I would expect it to happen. And when it doesn't happen, it's like I end up disappointed, It impacted.
By the way in which it was regular in your life.
Yes. Like everywhere that we would visit, especially as a group, I would be the one that is singled out, treated in a certain way, or one who would be always told these negative statements.
That's how I asked you this question, because as someone who sees in the spirit, who hears stuff in the spirit, some of these things that you are hearing are things that come from witchcraft, and witches are very jealous of their territory. Anyone who sees them, anyone who knows what they were doing, they are targeted as someone who needs to be dealt with. Were you aware of people in your surrounding who you would regard today as maybe those who were in the darkness world?
A lot. And sometimes it scares because I grew up very close to them. And funny enough, I grew up looking up to them. You know how as a child, like I told you, I was a tomboyish girl. And I would look at people, like ladies in my family, having their nails done and everything. And I wanted that. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be able to express myself as a woman like that. And that caused me to look up to them and copy them somewhat, if I may put it that way.
As role models.
Yes. And now, when I look at them and when I look at the kind of relationship that we have, I see that me knowing or me being able to see, I would say that ruined those relationships. But I would say that with maybe a mind of a normal human being. But if it was my mind applying everything, I wouldn't say it was ruined. It was, you know how the Bible says, come out from among them. It was a separation time. When I was with them, I was to learn whatever that I learned, or what was to see, to be able to differentiate what I would see about them in the spirit and what I would see them as in the physical. So what they are in the physical is not what they are in the spirit. So now and then they would slip.
There's a question that I want to ask you, because in the process of being rejected, there comes the high point. I would like you to relate to us the worst thing that ever happened among relatives.